Yeah, I get it. Everybody hates humans being in Transformers because it should be about the robots. I understand, I get it. But you know what? I'm okay with it when they take those humans and put them into exosuits and kind of make them Transformers-esque. At least it seems viable. And that brings us to what we're looking at today, which is going to be the studio series Rise of the Beast, Noah Diaz. As a lad, I always wanted a version of Spike and Daniel in their exosuits. And I thought once I got them, and I do have versions thereof, kinda, sorta. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But I never thought I'd have another human, let alone one that I think could be the best of the bunch. We'll find out when we look at this guy in the latest GotBot True review. Hey all, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble of hosts, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, please like, comment, share, of course subscribe, and while you are at it, light them up, baby. Hit that notification bell, it helps me out a ton, and it lets you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, all the groups that I'm either a mod or an admin for, as well as all of my social media links. All of that is in the description down below. Also in the description down below, and if you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon, see what we have to offer to you through spring, or of course hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. And I actually really wanted a version of Noah Diaz when I saw this. And I said, it doesn't really look like the way he looks in the film. In fact, this artwork doesn't quite look like the way he looks in the film. Apparently, too, they couldn't use like Anthony Ramos's likeness for whatever reason. I guess it wasn't in his contract or whatever. So I think kind of using the faceplate the way they did, or the altered face the way they did, was probably the right way to go. Of all of the exosuit versions we have, and we don't have a lot, but of the ones we do have, Masterpiece, Studio Series 86, and now this guy, I think this guy might actually be the best. And I was prepared for him to be the worst. Color me surprised. How about we head over to the table, get into the details and the nitty-gritty, and take a closer look at this guy. And here we dive into the Studio Series version of Rise of the Beast, Noah Diaz. It's a little core class offering. Kind of happy to have this. It's so interesting. I remember growing up and doing my collecting and thinking to myself, hey, I'd love to have Spike and Daniel in their exosuits. Why couldn't they do that? Those things transform, they would count. And now all these years later, I mean, I kind of have versions of them. We'll see what I mean in a minute. But never in my wildest dreams did I think that I would end up with yet another human in an exosuit. How good is this guy? Well, we are about to find out, but before we look at him, we have to look at that packaging first. And this is our packaging. Up here we have our boy, all ready for battle. By the way, he has his normal kind of face mask there, like from the movie, even though you don't see his actual face here. It's tinted out. And for some weird reason, the chest lights, I don't know what they are, his pecs are colored yellow here, but in the film they were red. So the packaging art isn't exactly animation accurate, which is a bit strange. Down here there's a close-up of like his helmeted head, I suppose. Over here, his whole, body. I assume this is concept art, I'm guessing. But it's not the same concept art that's used for our boy here. We have the product images in both modes, and when I say that the concept art used on the packaging isn't the same as the concept art used for our guy, well, we'll get into that in a few moments. But he also comes with a sheet of instructions, but trust me, you're not going to need them. This very nicely molded blaster, we have blue detailing on the top, silver all around the front, and look at that in there. By the way, this is Blast Effects compatible. It has a 3mm peg that goes in his hand. It can also fit up under the nose cone of the plane, or it has another spot in robot mode where it can store. And here we have all of my exosuit offerings. On the far end, we actually have the Masterpiece version of Spike. Though I find the head looks very youthful, so I actually use that as Daniel. And it's probably the weakest. Funny enough, I know it's Masterpiece, but it's probably the weakest of my exosuit molds. This one seems to have an older head. It is my Spike. So I do have a Spike and Daniel. Funny enough, the Daniel is a bit of a taller mold. I'd almost like two of this one and a different head to do a Daniel. But I digress. So there's those two, and as you can see, the Noah in his exosuit really sort of fits right in, even though his exosuit is different, because his exosuit is really made of bits and pieces and parts of Mirage's body. Which brings me right to doing the scores. So, few things worth noting here. This is definitely, it has to be based off of concept art, because starting from the feet and working our way up, there are 3 molded toes here. There should only be 2 molded toes. As we go up the front of the leg, really we should have some more, well, we do have some blue detail, I suppose, down there. I think coming up the shins is okay. The thighs are gray here. I feel like they should be silver, but I'm okay with the gray. Then we get to the torso. So on the hips and the tummy, we should definitely have some blue that we don't have. The chest is painted black here. Again, pecs, lights, whatever you want to call them, they're painted black here. They're yellow on the package, but in the film, they were actually red. They tried to do like the little thruster pieces on his shoulders. His arms got a little bit of blue, but I feel like we should have a bit more blue. And the head. Now, the head is very interesting because it does not look like Noah's like simple face masked face. But apparently, for whatever reason, they couldn't use Anthony Ramos's likeness. So what they did is they made the face look like the chest detail, that kind of Y that's on the chest of Mirage. They made that the face detail of the mask here and colored it like a bright allspark blue. And honestly, I'm not angry about it. I don't think it's too bad looking at all. But to say that this is accurate to the animation would be wrong. Plus, he has a plane on his back. That wasn't in the film. Now you can remove the plane, it doesn't need to stay there. In fact, I'm going to do that right now because we're going to talk about the plane separately in a few moments. Right, so like that can come off and we can have just this robot mode, right? No problem, easy enough to do. He has his blaster on his left hand, and this blade, sword, knife thing is built into this arm, so it doesn't come off. I'm going to take that out of his hand now as well. So for looks, I mean, it's hard for me to score it very well because it doesn't really look like the way he looked in the movie, but it's still cool. I don't know, I'm gonna give it a 7. Okay, let's talk about the articulation. So the articulation, we have a head that can go left and right. It can look way up and down. Arm goes all the way around, goes all the way out, elbow over 90 degrees, and a swivel. Ball joints, man, they're your friend, right? Remember when War for Cybertron started and we went from ball joints back to using hinge and swivel, and I said, hey, in a few years you're going to see ball joints everywhere again. And everybody said, that's not going to happen, they make them so much better now. I'm just saying, ball joints again. And it doesn't bother me. I'm fine with ball joints. I think they're very versatile. I digress. We do have a waist on the guy when you don't have his backpack on. Leg forward, leg back. Little bit of an ab wiggle, I guess we would say. 90 degrees at the knee. Again, because of the ball joint at the knee, we have a swivel there. Legs go out that far, not full splits, but respectable. And we have an ankle tilt and forward and back, right? Because there's a ball joint down there. Tolerance very well. Love the articulation. Could not want more articulation on a Legends class offering, 10. For a Legends class or core class offering, absolute 10. So we have a 7 and a 10. So right now the guy's getting somewhere around an 8.5. And while he's getting an 8.5, we gotta kind of talk about the elephant in the room, which is this huge backpack that turns into like a person-sized plane, I suppose. And I think it's very cool, and I think that the way that this is handled, while it could be interpreted as lazy, I think that considering we're dealing with an exosuit, I think it's a very interesting way. So in the film, the exosuit did not transform. Sure, we would get blasters and stuff and he could arm up and he was now robotic and had enhanced abilities. But the suit itself, unlike Spike and Daniel, did not transform. Could it? I don't know. Who knows? But it didn't in the film. So how are we going to handle that in a line called Transformers where the whole gimmick is transforming? Granted, they could have put this out and just made it not transform. That would have been weird. They could have put it out maybe in the red line, but that would have been too big. So they gave us this. First thing to note, his blaster in his hand in robot mode, can go between the two tail fins and fits in there nice and snug for storage if you don't want it in his hand. I'm going to lay that aside for now. In package, the nose cone was up like this, and this back piece was down like that. There's two hinges here. One underneath here for the nose cone where it folds forward and then comes back like on itself, right? And this gray one up here where this folds down and then folds up. And of course, once you got that up, you just bring this down, right? And it covers it over. Easy. Very, 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 very easy. Additionally, the wings can move out for plane mode. Cool. And you can even take the blaster if you're so inclined, and you notice this peg up front here. Well, you can take that and you can put that on there, right? And you can have this plane be just the backpack. Now I find this cool because conceivably Noah could be, say, in the midst of battle and kind of fire the plane off of his back, and the plane can almost work like a minion. Like the plane could almost be like a version of, like, you know, Laserbeak is to Soundwave as the plane might be to Noah, except I think the plane is probably more of a drone, the right part of the suit. Probably piloted by Noah. I don't know. But I think this is an interesting way to do a transformation without having it be part of the guy. It reminds me a lot of the accessories that came with Action Masters back in the day, to be perfectly honest with you. Now that's not it though, because the plane also has a little 5mm peg down here. So if you have, you know, a 5mm port on a guy, in his hand, on his body, whatever, you can actually place the plane as if it's, I don't know, flying onto someone or around someone or some such thing. It's pretty versatile, where you can use this peg here, or even better, you can actually flip that one down, right? I think this is great. I think that this is more an accessory than anything else, but I think it's great. Now, can you attach this to Noah and have him be part of the plane? For sure. We have a couple of tabs right here that go into ports, 2 ports here on the back. So we should be able to, I don't know if I'm going to be able to line it up on camera. I might have to do this off camera. Yeah, give me a second. I'm going to do this off camera. And now we have Noah attached. As you can see, it's on his back here. But why did I leave this like this? Because I wanted to show you a couple of other spots where he transforms by attaching. We have 2 little nubs down here. They go into the backs of his legs, and his feet actually flip up and become like the, I don't know, like the back thrusters, I suppose. Also, the back of his arm has a little rectangular tab that goes into a slot here by the wing, and tabs in, so that in the end, though there's a whole body hanging out underneath, boom, here we have Noah in his plane mode. And you know what? I'm not even angry about it. I think that the fact that that can stay on him and he can travel with the plane is great. I think the fact that the plane itself can collapse more on his back as a backpack is great. I think the fact that it can come off and kind of be like an extra attack pattern for him is great. I think that the little blaster being able to store on the nose cone, in his hand, or between these tail fins, also great. I can't believe I'm about to say this. I'm giving the transformation, get ready for it, 10. I think it's really versatile for what it is that they were trying to accomplish. I kind of can't think of a better way for them to handle doing this, honestly. He was getting an 8.5. This is a 10. The articulation is fantastic. The look is cool. The transformation is simple, but you know, the way they handled it is effective. Overall score for this guy, easy, a 9.25. It's surprisingly really, really good. And here we are once again, and here he is. And yes, it's, I think, the most versatile, most functional. When I compare this guy to, for example, the MP, and I use this as my Daniel because the face looks younger. The arm ball joints on the MP pop off, very limited articulation, weird transformation alt mode. Brilliant articulation on this guy for the size that he is. Feels really solid and robust in hand for as small as what he is. I like that we can take the blaster here and we can store it on his back. Granted, he still has use of this sword thing. I'm calling it a sword. I think the face being kind of an homage to the chest of Mirage is okay. I thought the transformation was lame, yeah, sure. Although there are like thrusters molded into his feet, and that I guess are supposed to be thrusters for the plane. But what I do like is that the plane can come off. He can attack you from multiple angles with his sword and then the plane using the blaster thing, for example. I actually think it worked out really, really well. When I compare him to this is what I use as Spike because the face looks older, the Studio Series 86. I really like this. And this has pretty good articulation and great engineering, but I still think I like the versatility of this one more. It can be its own standalone exosuit. It could be an exosuit with a plain backpack, or it can just be a plane. What's not to love? Honestly, didn't think I was going to think much of it. Actually, I was prepared to score it really poorly and say this is very lazy, but I wound up thoroughly enjoying it. Let me know what you think about Exosuit Noah Diaz. I appreciate you guys coming by, giving me some of your extremely valuable time. I do know how important it is to you. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon, see what we have to offer to you through spring, or of course hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. While you're at it, hit the subscribe button. Why not? Stick around, have some fun with us here on the channel. And don't forget, most importantly, that somehow, someway, each and every single solitary day, you right there, you do make a difference in the world. And I look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams on Thursday nights, at the stop motion premieres, or the old-fashioned way, right here, inside the videos.